bananas. The word of the day, kids, is banana. Like, I need you to know the dragon lady is just below the surface here. Not like they have to then tread lightly, but just like be on your A game, because it's the time of year where it's like a 50-50 split. Decisions should not be made out of anger or other extreme emotions. And I also think that grading should not be done out of anger or other extreme emotions. Good morning, and welcome back to the Caffeinated Classroom. It is Friday, and if all goes well today, this vlog will come out on this same exact day. I try to put them out on Thursdays, but this month, I've just never succeeded in my goal, and all of my vlogs come out on like Friday or Saturday. Anyways, so I am sitting at a stoplight on my commute. So I am sitting in my car on my commute, waiting to inch my way to school. I'm not late necessarily, but I'm not like super on time. And I feel like that's just kind of a running theme with me, but that's okay. So I had a very real moment the other day where I realized, oh my gosh, I only have 2 weeks of instruction, and one of those weeks is a 4-day week because Memorial Day weekend is this weekend. And then, so we have next week, which is 4 days, one more week, and then finals. And all of a sudden it all kind of came crashing in. Like, it's all planned. I have everything ready. I know like exactly, I'm hitting standards and I'm checking for mastery and I'm assessing their learning with a final at the end. But I just all of a sudden was like, oh, this is bananas. Like, the year's almost over. And by the way, I don't know about you guys, but in Southern California, it has been raining buckets the last couple of weeks, which is bizarre. So it like doesn't feel like May. I don't know. It's a really weird thing. So I also have a half day today, so I kind of forgot about that. I'm used to a 90-minute period. I only have like 64 minutes each period, so I need to cram some things in. I'm gonna have to run and make copies when I get there. I have presentations happening today. There's just like a lot of things that are like winding down, and I'm closing out old units and still like in the middle of Shakespeare. So, bananas. Hello. Welcome back. I know it's only been 2 seconds for you, but it has been a day for me. So the word of the day is absolutely bananas, and my classes made no exception to that. I had presentations in my sophomore class, which is my first period of the day, which were supposed to happen a week ago. They were supposed to happen last Friday. They didn't. Many reasons. I had a couple kids who had to be out of town for like family emergencies. Like, there were sincerely like 6 or 7 kids missing, most of whom were missing for legitimate, valid reasons that like came up last minute. And I was like, you know what? These are group presentations of a project we were working on. I would rather get good, even better quality work. So if I give you another week, whatever, like, let's just like cash in. We'll put this off. Here we go. So a week goes by. All week long, I'm like, remember you have your presentations on Friday. Remember you have your presentations on Friday. Remember you have your presentations on Friday. I had 2 kids just no show, like unverified absences. I'm referencing my computer because I like keep looking to be like, has this absence been cleared? Like, did their parents call them in? Are they super sick? I was a little surprised that these 2 kids were absent, especially knowing that they're responsible kids. So I was like, you know, you have a presentation today. We only have like 11 days left of instruction and then finals. I don't really have time for them to like make up presentations that are already put off for a week. I'm a little, I'm Dragon Lady is like coming out. That's what I call my like dark passenger, other persona that like and I had to warn my students in my other classes, like, I need you to know the Dragon Lady is just below the surface here. Not like they have to then tread lightly, but just like be on your A game, because it's the time of year where it's like a 50-50 split. Kids are either like super on their A game, they finally get it, especially when you're teaching like sophomores and like freshmen. They're like in it, they're halfway through high school, some of them, or you got a year under their belt, they're totally ready to rock and roll, they get it, they just finally get it. And then there's the other half who go, oh, it's almost summer, I don't have to think anymore. And which begs the question, were you thinking this whole time? Because, you know, we're talking about kids here. We're not always thinking. The latter group has been a little bit more in the numbers than the former group. And my students are turning into turkeys. And so I'm like, Dragon Lady, stay down, keep your cool. These are kids. They're about to go to a 3-day weekend. We have a half day today. I just was like, oh, because then even with 2 kids missing, the projects that I saw were either fantastic, above and beyond the amazing work that I know that they're capable of, because we have these great conversations in here. Like, I know that their thoughts are capable of this great high level, higher order thinking. And they did these great projects and they presented them with pride. And then if they weren't in that group, they were in the complete other group, which was like, why did you bother to present this if you couldn't even type it? Like a handwritten on a ripped notebook paper that you ripped out of a spiral, and you're gonna turn this into me as a major project? I'm just having a little like, So I have decided, because I know that I'm a human being, and I said this out loud to my students, I am very transparent in the ways that I think are important for me to be transparent. And you can see like the emotions have gotten me moving. Like, decisions should not be made out of anger or other extreme emotions. And I also think that grading should not be done out of anger or other extreme emotions. So I am not grading those projects today. I'm going to grade the ones that I know that I can grade right now. And the other ones I'm going to put aside, and I'm going to like take a couple of days and I will grade them next week. And their grades will just have a hole in them until like Tuesday. I need to not grade them when I am irritated. And I'm extremely, you know what, I'm not even irritated. I'm irritated because I'm disappointed. Like, I'm just disappointed. Like, I have some really bright kids who just didn't do anything and then like couldn't even save themselves. Like, I was like, man, I'm trying not to be offended because it's really not about me. It's about kids being kids. But you know, we can't help it. Like, we put our all into them and then you're hoping that they're gonna bring it back, but other factors come in. Like, all of these things I'm talking myself through. Like, these kids are not just in my class. They're not just in school. Like, they are whole body beings that have other things going on. And I always have to remember they're kids and kids make mistakes, and that's why they're in high school. Because I'm like, well, in the real world, yeah, but they're sophomores in high school. They're not in the real world yet. My job is to be that safety net for them. I can't even talk. My job is to be their safety net before they go into the real world so they can learn these kinds of lessons. And like, I don't know, like a couple months ago in one of my vlogs, I was talking about tough love. Like, here it comes again. And I always like, teachers out there, comment down below if you're like me, because I know I'm not alone in this. You start to feel guilty, like you're giving them a grade towards the end of the year where you're like, they just didn't bring it and they didn't earn the grade that they could have earned. But then you feel bad because their potential is to have a B or an A, but their performance was to have a C or a D. And there's this weird like internal struggle. And I always have to stop myself and be like, no, I'm not giving them any grade. They're earning a grade, and the grade that they earned is the grade that they earned, period. So I'm talking myself through that. I have a ton of grading to do. I'm gonna get on that right now, and I will check in with you hopefully when I'm a little calmer. So I calmed down. I did not take the weekend like I thought I needed to. I calmed down. I graded some other things. I graded some quizzes that all 3 classes took on sonnets earlier this week, because we are like in the full throes of Shakespeare, as I said earlier. And I said, you know what? I don't want to go to a 3-day weekend with this like negative idea looming in my brain about these projects these kids did, because some of them were amazing. So I just went for it. I went and graded all of the projects from my sophomores. And I didn't even tell you this before. These are the creative thinking projects that I actually got from Jenna Copper. Cop Teaching is her TPT store and her blog, and she has the most amazing ideas. And so I had my students use what is her creative thinking project that I got from her store with our to round out our study of Night, the Holocaust memoir Night by Elie Wiesel. And some of them were amazing and some of them were half-ass. And that's like all there is to it. Like, my students just didn't do the work. The insight is there. They have compassion for the story that we read because we had these amazing conversations in class. They just didn't do the work. And so I had to like put any, ego aside, because that's the thing that we do, right? We naturally think, well, if they're not working, it must be something that I've done wrong. Or like, I don't know, I like get offended and I have to like remind myself that like, it's not about me, but I'm a person. So sometimes I get offended. So I like put that away, and I was like happy with the way that they did with sonnets. And so that kind of like gave me a little bit of joy. Went back, was looking at their projects. The ones that did great, like I said, did amazing. And the ones that didn't, they just didn't do it. So they got a grade that reflects that they just didn't do it. Like, that's all there is to it. And hopefully The thought here with this tough love is that it lights a fire underneath those who really should have done better and makes them hone in for the next 2.5 weeks and makes them like really focus on the skills that they have learned and showing me that they've learned those skills. So here's to hoping, right? I put in their grades. I was also almost not going to put in their grades because I was like, well, it's a 3-day weekend when their parents look at their grades today, because a lot of parents look at grades on Fridays and they see these like terrible, like 70% and lower on a giant score, like what's gonna happen? But then I'm like, you know what? I didn't do this. These kiddos are high schoolers. They have made their bed and now they're going to lie in it. And there you have it. Will I give them the opportunity to make up these points? No. Will I give them the opportunity to save their grade? Absolutely, because they have like big project. They have a big project, a big Socratic seminar, and a final, and 2 other like test quizzes coming in the next 11 days that I have to teach them. So like they have plenty of opportunity, and hopefully this motivates them. It also, you know, I always like to reflect in these vlogs especially, right? But I always like to reflect on my teaching practice, and I see where some of my students, especially as sophomores, just weren't quite ready for a project. The way that I gave the project was, I think, too open-ended, and I think I needed to scaffold a bit more, which is why many of the low scores are 70% and not 50%, because truly they didn't fulfill the requirements of the project. But I see my part in that, where I didn't support them well enough, and I think that's where then they got willy-nilly and just let it go because they didn't like get it, so they stopped trying. So I'm gonna like I see some of that, and I do see some of the thought behind it, so I gave them credit where credit is due, but I also didn't give them credit where it is not due. You know what I mean? So I feel better about going into my Friday now and my long weekend, and I hope you all have a wonderful long weekend. Many of you are already done, as I said earlier this morning, and some of you are in the same boat as me where you have a few more weeks. I'm not like lamenting the fact that I'm not done right now. I'm actually okay with it because I want to see this through with the students that I have, and I'm going to be sad when they go. Like, I'm going to be legitimately sad when these classes are over, because, you know, you build a bond, and luckily I am moving. Next year, I'll be teaching sophomores and seniors. So like many of the freshmen that I have now, I will have again next year, which is like sweet and kind of awesome. And then I'll see the sophomores that I've had this year in 2 years when they are seniors. So that like gives me a little bit more like comfort, I guess. I don't know, I get so attached. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope that the end of the year for you, if you are still in school like me, is going well. And I hope that you're able to take a moment like I am doing. Like, this is the time of the year that we get really, really stressed out for all of the reasons. There's a lot happening, but also our students get like bonkers, right? What's the word of the day? Bananas. And they freak out, man. And they freak out in different ways, and it's all very different for each kid. But a lot of that freaking out comes back at us, right? And it comes back with like their assignments being half done and or like overly done, and like all of the questions, and you're like, you already know the answer to this question. And so I hope that seeing me reflect back on the way that I could have supported my students better, and therefore like having some grace for their performance. Hopefully this helps you a little bit not get like, I just get really mad sometimes and I have to like stop myself. So I'm hoping that for you guys, your blood pressure will not suffer if maybe you can take a minute like I did. Oh, and by the way, I had like a giant piece of chocolate, so that like definitely helped my mood. But anyways, have a great day, and I'll see you next time. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful long weekend this weekend if you are seeing this in real time, and have a great rest of your year if you're still working. Please subscribe if you haven't already done so, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.